Good evening and welcome to a special 90-minute edition of BET Tonight. I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, glad that you are with us, and we are pleased tonight to be joined by the artist formerly known as Prince, for whom we'll take your phone calls for the entire 90 minutes tonight. Glad he's with us here in Washington. Artist, how are you?
Perfect.
It is nice to see you.
Nice to be seen.
Thanks for coming on, man. Let me start by asking you, how's the foot? I know that you just wrapped this, we all know you just wrapped the tour with Shaka and Larry, who we're going to be joined by, of course, later in the program tonight. But you had to reschedule some dates because of the foot. Tell me how, and the important things first, how's the foot doing?
Everything's fine now.
Good.
I hurt it in a strange freak accident. I misstepped on a ramp, and my toe went underneath my foot. And when that happens, when your big toe gets underneath your foot, all trouble breaks loose. But everything's cool now. From the bottom of my heart, I'm so disappointed that I wasn't able to play LA. And
so were we, those of us who live in LA, who were waiting for you.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to reschedule and get that one down. But if not, you know, these are the things of life.
Yeah, they are. Let me ask you about the tour. Did you enjoy it? I know you just finished. I'm sure you're a little bit tired now, but what did you think of the tour? You still like going out doing dates?
Oh man, that's my life. I got into the music business because I loved playing so much. You don't really get into the business to be a star. At least I didn't. I didn't get in to make a whole bunch of money or anything like that, or meet a whole bunch of women. Just so happens those are the things that came along with it. But I was always playing a lot, and it's what it's all about, jumping off pianos. That's
it's all about jumping off pianos.
Yeah, that's what
and hurting your foot when you jump.
No, well, the jumping off the pianos is the easy part. If somebody puts a monitor someplace they ain't supposed to be, then
that's the bad part.
Then we're in trouble, yeah.
I'm wondering, when you're on tour, whether or not you still enjoy playing your old stuff. I've heard all kinds of rumors, and we are going to spend some time tonight, as you and I have already discussed, talking about all kinds of rumors that are out there about you. I want to give you a chance, in person, live on BET, to respond to a lot of the mess and things that your critics have been saying about you. I want to hear it straight from you. But I'm wondering, for starters, whether or not you still, when you're out on the tour, enjoy playing your old stuff. I've read stuff that said you like your old stuff and you enjoyed other stuff that says you're burnt out on playing that, you're tired of playing certain songs. What's the story on what you like to play in concert?
If there were any statements made by me about not enjoying playing old music, it was probably when I was still tied to the contract with Time Warner. Once I got out of the contract, I started to reevaluate my trip, and I realized that, you know, these are like my children, and in this upcoming year in 1999, we're going to make a valiant effort to regain ownership of the master recordings. They are a representation of me, and they will be all that will be left upon my departing of this experience.
I wanted to go there in the conversation. You know I want to go there. We've already discussed we're going to go there. Since you mentioned Warner, let me pick up on that segue and run with it. It is not lost on any of us that you had, for lack of a better word, a pretty bizarre, if not nasty, egregious split with Warner when you left. Back up, if you can, for a little bit and tell me about what happened, why you left Warner, why you felt so visceral about that split when you left.
Well, it was a long brewing thing. To put it in a quick capsule, once I really realized I wanted to be out of the contract is during the time that we released Most Beautiful Girl in the World. Now, that master recording I owned, and I was allowed to step outside of the Time Warner family to promote and distribute the record, and I had a worldwide hit. Now, that was during a time when, you know, you are quote-unquote not happening anymore, and you're not cutting edge anymore, and these particular types of descriptions. So that just sort of whet my taste buds as to what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I think I'm better suited to market my own music. I am in a situation now with New Power Generation Records that I can take the music and repackage it and sell it in various arenas, the internet, direct to consumer, all kinds of things, at concerts. You know, I was never allowed to do this before. You're talking about a lucrative sum of money, and I've made a lot of money since I've left Time Warner, a lot more than I made when I was with them. All right, and this is a little known fact, I think, and that's why some of the you hear some of the rumors about me being in financial difficulty and things like that. But, hopefully tonight we'll get to talk about media manipulation.
Oh, we will indeed.
Our people.
Let me ask you to respond to something that one of your critics, a number of your critics have said. It's been said repeatedly that you, comparatively speaking, compared to other artists on Time Warner, at Warner Brothers, were treated quite wonderfully. That you didn't have everything you wanted, but that you, in fact, were given carte blanche at that company. And that part of what really happened was that you got spoiled by the people at Warner Brothers. And when you asked for more and more and more, they had a difficult time trying to reel the artist, Prince at the time, trying to reel you in because they'd given you so much leeway, so much flexibility, and you just started to act like a little kid, started ranting and raving and throwing a tantrum. And the real problem was that they just could not reel you in because they had been so flexible with you all along.
Well, listen, I'm not one to look at myself through other people's eyes. That's their perception of me.
But do you buy that perception?
Absolutely not. What had happened really was that the music business runs like this. You'll have a manager, you'll have an attorney, you'll have various record company people. Everybody's taking a cut of everything that you do. It got down to the wire there, and some people who were not in the studio at the time wanted a cut of When Doves Cry because, I'm sorry, they wanted a cut of the song Pray by Hammer because it contained a sample, When Doves Cry. All right, so when you're in the fold, when you're in the club and everybody's getting a piece of everything, your tour, your publishing, any endorsements, when they're getting a piece of all of that, you will have hit records. The moment you step away from that and you want to in fact, take control of your own life, your own experience, then you'll find you're not hot anymore. You know, now my music really hasn't changed. I mean, you can listen to a song like The One, and for through my eyes, not other people's eyes, through my eyes, it's some of the best work I've ever done. You know, I rank it right up there with anything that I've ever produced. But looking at my experience through someone else's eyes, you're going to hear these things like spoiled child and what have you. Warner's was very good to me, don't get me wrong, and I learned from the experience. In fact, when like I said, when I reevaluated the trip, I found that I had to challenge them with love. And in fact, I wrote a letter to one of the presidents there that I in fact loved him, and I thanked him for signing me in the first place, and that we had in fact each chosen to be in the position that we were in.
Hold that thought 1 second. We are just getting started, as you can tell, with our conversation tonight with the artist formerly known as Prince. There is much more to come on BET tonight. Don't go away. Does anybody get away with calling you Prince these days, or do they get slapped if they call you Prince or something?
Oh, no. You know what I find in airports and outside of the venues and things like that, people of color will always call me Prince. And what I also find is people of color always smile, and they always say they love me. You know, on the other side, the lighter persuasion, we have people just kind of stare. And they'll say Prince, and then they'll correct themselves. No, the artist, or and they'll get confused.
Right.
And it's interesting looking through my eyes at this particular phenomenon.
Right.
You know.
Why do you think that is? The people of color treat you one way, and that lighter persuasion, to use your phrase, treat you another way with regard to what to call you when they see you.
I think we tend to live through our own more so. And we champion when one of us makes good. and we never forget. Like I'm so thankful. I always have my people at my shows, and they remember all the way back.
Oh, do they? Absolutely.
When I was doing the Purple Rain tour, I had a lot of people who I knew I'd never see again at the concerts, just screaming in places they thought they were supposed to scream. You know, so that mountaintop type situation is not really all it's cracked up to be.
Let me back up. Let me digress if I can, and talk more specifically about the name change. There are a lot of folk who are still in fact confused and don't know exactly what precipitated the name change. It is my understanding that the name change was inextricably tied to what happened with the Warner Brothers situation when you left. And if I'm wrong, disabuse me of that notion, but explain to me and to those who are watching why the name change happened. What was that all about?
Well, I'm finding, after studying my music now for the past 3 or 4 years, that when one completely listens to one's inspiration and inner voice, you will create things out of it that will lead you towards enlightenment. And one of the things that I was asked to do by my inner voice, which I believe to be my higher power, I was asked to change my name. Now, it seemed pretty absurd at the time, but what I found out is when I got into a situation with Warner's where I wanted to leave, they said, "You can't leave, we have you under contract." So,
you as in Prince?
That's right.
Was under contract?
Right.
Okay.
So then I changed my name and found that I could record with this name outside of that contract. The other thing is, as you can see, Most Beautiful Girl in the World was not by Prince. It was by me.
Right.
All right. And the other thing I found is that it freed me from being Prince. It freed me from thinking like Prince, and it freed me from my ego.
What's wrong with thinking like Prince? Prince had some major hits. It's what made you who you are today in terms of, I mean, it started you down this path. I'm just curious as to what you mean when you say it caused you to stop thinking like Prince, as if that was something bad or something negative.
No, but Prince was in a trap. Prince was under contract to, Prince was owned, you know. Now, I can't use Purple Rain. I can't use this song. I can't sell the song Purple Rain now unless I record it again, which I have plans to do if I can't, in fact, get the master recording that I believe is one of my children, you know. So I had to get freed from the mentality of being a slave. You understand?
Right.
Okay, and that's not to equate myself with the same situations that we suffered coming to this country, but you know, everything is relative. If you are owned, you are owned. If you can't do everything that you want to do, if there's a ceiling and you're not allowed to go as high as you can go, you are in fact a slave.
Let me squeeze in some phone calls, and I know there are many people standing by tonight. I read somewhere that you don't like the word fan. So I don't want to say we're going to go to the phone calls and get calls from your fans. And I want y'all to play yourself when you call and say, "I'm your biggest fan, Prince," or the artist. What do you have against the word fan? We supposed to change our names too?
No. Well, it's short for fanatic.
Right.
And if you look that word up, it's not very pretty.
Okay. Gloria in Florida, you're on the air, and I'm glad you called.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. Well, the artist, I just wanted to say that I truly admire you, and I really was so proud of you when you took that move from Warner Brothers to doing your own thing. I used to work in a record store, so many of your records, and today you look so happy being in charge of who you are.
Yes,
and it's kind of like to thine own self be true. And I truly admire you, and I appreciate your music so much. I'm sitting here with my 21-year-old who still, he thinks you're the best thing since bagged sugar.
Gloria, I thank you for your phone call. Is Gloria right on point when she suggested you are happier now than you've ever been?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I thank God every day. We as people, because we have to answer to a 9-to-5 or answer to a boss or whatever, you know, man didn't come to earth like that. Man came to earth for recreation, which means recreation, and to recreate love, you know, and you can't do that when you're constantly angry and you're constantly being held back. I had good, wonderful years at Warner Brothers. There just came to be a point where I wanted to go farther. You know, I was being accused of being a bad businessman and things like that with my record label over there. Excuse me. When in fact, I wasn't allowed the same leeway as, say, some of the other so-called icons that are still over there doing business with them today. So if the playing field's not equal, and it really wasn't, and they know it wasn't, then you got to step away. So I am, in fact, happier, yes.
You used the phrase that you were accused of many things, and you have, in fact, of late been accused of many things. You have a lot of, can't use the word fans, you have a lot of supporters and a lot of folk who love you, but a lot of folk who've had a lot of things not so nice to say about you of late. When we come back, I want to, with your permission, walk down a list of things that have been said, written about you of late, and give you a chance to respond. Is that all right with you?
Love that. Let's do this.
Let's do it. We're joined by the artist. Your phone calls for him. We will premiere it a little bit later in the show. That new video, Come On. Also joined tonight later by Shaka Khan and Larry Graham. I am wondering, artist, since you were, for a variety of reasons, unhappy at Warner, you left, you started MPG, how have you structured your company differently than the experience you had at Warner Brothers, so that when people sign, when other artists sign with you, the artist, that they don't end up as unhappy with you as you were with Warner? Does that not make any sense?
Oh, it makes sense.
Okay.
First of all, once again, I just want to say, you know, the industry way of doing business is cool for them. We're just an alternative. And the first rule with us is that there are no rules. And the main thing that I want to stress is there are no contracts. All right, now that's very important for several reasons. We don't plan to go into litigation and fight one another. We don't go into the agreement thinking we're going to end up in court. You know, we go into this to make music. Larry and I have no contract, and he always makes a joke that, you know, if we did, what would we put on it? You know, the studio time is free. All we have to do is keep the electricity on, you know. The other thing that's real important to us is we all together have started to study words like contract, and the fact that con being the prefix means something negative. It's the opposite of pro. All right, you have words like consequence. You know, we're the genesis. We don't want to be the end, so to speak. Contradiction, convince, trying to convince somebody of something that they should already know. We don't want to adopt somebody else's way of doing business, you know.
But aren't artists, with all due respect, contracts protective measures? I mean, you may not go into a situation expecting someone to play you or to diss you or to act a fool in the process, but if in fact that does happen, how then does the artist, for example, protect himself even?
Well, I can't be played. A person trying to play me plays themselves. It's happened many times in the past. One day, maybe I'll bring that out, but Larry Graham's not going to play me. I'm not going to play Larry Graham. Shaka Khan's not going to play either one.
Wasn't it your thought when you first signed with Warner Brothers that they would never try to play you, and yet you ended up having to change your name and leave because they, at some point in your mind, started trying to play you?
Well, they initiated the contract. I could have gotten into the music business without a contract if that's the way the system was set up. That's my point, is that that's the way they do business. We do business differently. We do business in a way that there is no business. It's about the art. You know, it's about the relationship and the love of one another.
Before I get to some of these remarks that some of your critics have made about you of late, since we're talking about contracts, you saw earlier at the outset of the show, as a matter of fact, you were watching that show that night, I understand, when Jimmy and Terry were on, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and they made some comments about contracts. One call came through from a young person and asked them their advice on what to do. The caller said, what should I do if I want to get started in the music business? And you and I talked about this a few days ago, and I got the sense in our private conversation that you were a bit unhappy with the advice that Jimmy and Terry offered this particular caller. Am I totally off base here?
Well, yeah, Jimmy and Terry, they're my brothers, and they know I got much love for them, but their advice to the caller was ill-advised, because it's most important that you keep ownership of your master recordings. That's your social security. If you don't have that, you out to poo. You're straight off the meter. And if we don't start stating that first off, if we don't start getting that right first off, you know, all else will fall afterwards.
Let me walk down a list. I've got a couple minutes here before I have to take another break here. I can get a couple things out, I think. I want to throw this at you, and I want you to respond. I'm reading from a national magazine, had this to say about you. Where was Rolling Stone? Where was Vibe? Talking about when your last CD set came out. Where was Rolling Stone? Where was Vibe? Prince demanded that they give him the cover for an interview. And so far, both Vibe and Rolling Stone have said no. I'm quoting from an executive at Rolling Stone, and I quote, before I quote, he's talking about the fact that there are a number of reasons you put somebody on the cover. The quote begins here. One reason is the impact they are having artistically. Another is the impact they are having culturally. A third is the impact they are having commercially. Right now, those factors are not conjoining to make it a given that we would put the artist on the cover. They're telling me I got a break. But what this guy's saying is that you're not having an impact artistically, culturally, or commercially enough to be on the cover of Rolling Stone.
We got a break?
We got a break.
We got a break?
Sit tight 1 second.
Oh,
He's ready to go. He's chomping at the bit. He is the artist formerly known as Prince. I know you want to hear his response to what Rolling Stone had to say about why they won't put him on the cover. Why doesn't Vibe put him on the cover? We'll get his response in just a second. That you seem to be heading further away from the cutting edge you once had and closer to some sort of R&B Legends tour. And so far, you may not deserve to be on the cover of Vibe.
Well, there's a lot in that one. I mean, where should I begin?
Wherever you want to begin. It's your show.
All right,
I'm just here moderating.
We'll start with the cutting edge part. When a man is free, and it puts him closer to God, first of all. The path is open to get to God. It's probably in both of those magazines to keep me off the cover and out of their magazine, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to preach freedom, all right? And I'm going to preach the annihilation of contracts, all right? And see, without contracts, you ain't going to need lawyers, because nobody's going to be in court arguing about money, which has no power, ultimately. All right, so it's in their best interest to keep me out of those magazines. I completely understand. I only ask them to put me in there, and I will ask for what I believe I deserve, because I think I'm great. Just think I'm great, you know? And, you know, we're still selling out arenas. And so somebody else thinks I'm pretty great, too. And I don't say that to be arrogant. I say that to show that I love myself. And if more people did love themselves, they'd stop worrying about whether someone was cutting edge or not.
I want to get to this premiere video in a second, but let me just piggyback one quick question, then we'll go and stand by. We're about to premiere the new video, the latest video from the artist, in about 2 seconds here. Part of what your critics also say with regard to what we're discussing now is that while you may be making money because you control your whole environment now, you're keeping more of what you make. But that does not necessarily mean that you're selling more records than you used to sell. Isn't it not true, artists, that you're not selling the records at the level you used to sell them? Absolutely true.
Okay. But then again, we're not in as many stores. Some stores are player hating, and
people player hate.
That's right, rightfully so. You know, I expected this, but then again, I don't gauge success based upon the way other people gauge success. This isn't about SoundScan and C-SPAN and all that. You know, this is about our plan. You know, this is about what we believe now. And if you ask any artist, the music is a success upon creation. When you give it to somebody like a Rolling Stone or a Vibe and they start critiquing it, then your perception changes. But that's looking through somebody else's eyes. So again, we gauge success based upon what we feel in our hearts. You know, we've shut our minds off now. Minds should be used for what they were made for, filing cabinets. We think with our hearts.
People have always been obsessed. I mean, from day one, and I wish I had time to like just roll out a whole stack of photos here of how your image and how your look has changed over the years. People have always been obsessed with the way you look, with your style, with your appearance. Why do you think that is, number one? And tell me honestly whether or not you play into that, you take advantage of that, and you tease people, and you play on that. That obsession with your image.
Sometimes I do, but I think they are vicariously living through these image changes. You know, at the heart of the matter, though, is the music. You know, I am a musician. I don't sample. You know, it's not Memorex. I go on stage and my microphone is on.
Speaking of sampling, what do you think of sampling? It's not for you, but what do you think about other people who do it, because everybody other than you practically is doing it?
You know, I wouldn't know what to say about it. I can't have a real educated answer for that because I play, I guess. You know, when you can sit and play, I Want to Take You Higher for 45 minutes with the man who was in the studio when it was recorded, Larry Graham. I mean, why you want to sample something? That, you know, just for me, personally.
Do you have any idea? This is just total curiosity on my part. One of the great things about hosting a show is every now and then you can ask something that you just want to know. I don't know if anybody else wants to know this, but I am so curious as to how many, if you have any idea, how many unreleased songs done, cut, unreleased, sitting around Paisley Park in PG, how many songs do you have unreleased? Do you have any idea?
I kind of don't like to speculate because it's upwards of 1,000, but...
songs that are done that could in fact just...
Yeah, it's upwards of 1,000, excuse me. I don't like to speculate because it makes me tired, it makes me realize that I actually am 40 years old, so...
Your phone calls. Tawana in Maryland, I thank you for holding. You're on the air.
Hi. Hi, I'm sorry. I'm not even going to try to put into words how big an admirer I am of, well, I don't call him the artist, I call him the genius. So I'll just go ahead and just ask my question. My question is, this interview is basically live and not taped. So what made you decide to come onto this particular show and do such a personal one-on-one interview that's not in a controlled setting? I mean, Travis isn't even playing around. So what would make you come on out and do a uncontrolled interview like this?
Well, thank you for your compliments, first of all. I just wanted to, as we approach 1999, I've just been doing a lot of thinking about how people of color have been left out of the space program. They don't really see us in Pleasantville. And, you know, and I also think a lot about something that is going to unite us all. We have to find out what that is, because, you know, if Jesus came down here, we'd probably not recognize him. And I think it's important that we all unite for something now. And I just wanted to come on and talk about maybe that could be freedom, you know.
I'm glad you came on and talk about it.
Yeah.
Tawana, I thank you. Teresa in Delaware, you've been kind to hold you on the air at The Artist, and I'm glad you called.
Yes, how you doing, Travis and The Artist?
Good.
I want to say that, Prince, I think you are so fine. But my question is to you, how come you don't have any concerts in small towns, and how come you're so private where the public cannot get a hold of you to, as far as like writing you letters or getting anything or more information about you?
My first experience with a fan, and I call her a fan because she was pretty fanatical. I used to answer her fan letters all the time, and she became very attached to me. And next thing you know, she was at my door, and she didn't want to leave. I've had people come up to my porch and try to get in, break in, all kinds of strange things. So I've been pretty private since these events. As far as playing concerts in smaller towns are concerned, we have a lot of plans for doing concerts from now until I can't jump off pianos no more. You know, I was on stage recently and I said that people asked me what it felt like to be 40. I said, I don't know, because I'm 17. You know.
And still jumping off pianos.
I'm gonna still jump off the pianos.
Sharon in Maryland, thanks for holding. You're on with The Artist, and I'm glad you called.
Good evening, artist.
Good evening.
I would like to know where you will be performing for New Year's 1999, and will it be televised?
Hopefully I'll be in the light. That's all I really want to say about that.
If you look back on the song 1999, when you wrote it, and where we are now on the verge of 1999, any quick thoughts that come to mind?
Yes, if the sky has blood in it, blue and red make purple.
Lots and lots has been said and written about you in recent years. Do you pay attention to much of that?
Only the parts that say I'm insane, I find that real humorous.
What's the weirdest thing that's ever been attributed to you?
I don't really get into weird things that are said about me. I tend to look at things that are complimentary, because that's what's going to add to my soul. It's very obvious that anything negative is spewed by a detractor that's trying to harm me.
So the ritual goat slayings, all that kind of stuff, that's all a joke then?
The what?
No, sorry, I was joking.
Well, that's where he goes.
Has being slammed by the censors ever really angered you? Any particular occasion?
I'm here. I'm living, breathing. I'm happy. I'm among wise people. I have no complaints.
But does it bother you that there is that moral majority out there who are just waiting to read something into the message in your lyrics?
What I think that is a security system, and it keeps the truth the truth. So debate it for hours, we'll find out one way or another, So I welcome all of it. I welcome all of it.
Do you get to hear any radio? Do you get to listen to other artists?
My radio, my radio, sure sound bad to me.
What is this routine?
He had a song a while back called "My Radio Show Sounds Good to Me," but that was when radio sounded good. It's people don't play anymore. Everything is sequenced, and if I want to listen to a machine, I'll just go put my clothes in it and get some work done at the same time, because you ain't gonna get no funk.
Who says no to you then? Who says the artist, whatever? I think this is substandard, or it's not up to your normal standard.
Let's see. Is that a substandard shirt that you have on? Is it my place to
I like
that?
it. Is that what counts?
That's what it's about. Yeah. You like it. That's what counts. This is my name. This is what I go by. Those who respect me will use it. Those who do not will say and do otherwise.
Without his old name or the restrictions of his record company, the artist made some real profits by using the internet to release his new album, Crystal.